You're listening to Beyond Technique, the podcast that empowers photographers to bring their businesses to the next level. Hello and welcome to Beyond Technique, the podcast that empowers photographers to bring their businesses to the next level, brought to you by Platypod, Photofocus, and Cohen University. This is Shamira Young, and I'm joined by my co-host, Skip Cohen. Skip, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Our lives have all changed because of the pandemic, and the new norm brings in Zoom and Skype and FaceTime, probably more than at any other time that they would have come into being active in our lives. And one of the things, I don't know how you've got your system set up, but I'm in so many Zoom meetings lately. I've got one Platypod set up with my lights so that I actually look good on camera, which we've had Larry Becker on talking about his book, Great on Camera. And then we've also had JP Morgan. But I've also got another one set up that's got the remote camera that I use. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot lately are companies that are trying to do multiple camera positions, like a teacher, for example. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so excited, because this new Ultra Twin Pack now gives photographers a discounted price on two Ultras with the spigot, the silicone pad, and that little adapter set screw. And it's just a great way to be able to expand your needs, especially when you're doing multiple camera locations or lighting or whatever. I don't know if you've had a chance to use it. What's your setup like?
My setup, I haven't had a chance to use it too much yet. But I do know that even just the lighter torches with the goosenecks comes in handy. I've done a little bit of experimenting with that just for some lighting solutions. My office is not very big. I just moved into a house a few months ago, and so still my office setup is in flux, but lighting in and of itself is so important. And I'm finding it's making a big difference because, just like everyone else, I am in more Zoom meetings than ever before. So it's very, very helpful.
You know, the way I look at this is that photographers that don't look good on camera in Zoom, it's really no different if you're talking to a client than if they were to go to your website and see a horrible headshot.
For sure.
Yeah. So make yourself look good, everybody. Hey, what do you think about getting to today's guest?
Let's do it. Do you want to do the honors?
I would love to. I thought you'd never ask. Hey, if you think about everything in business today, the pandemic has changed everything, but it's also given photographers a chance to stand out by building brand awareness on the quality of customer service they provide. And think about it for a minute. How you communicate and build relationships with your clients has never been more important than right now. We've got Shep Hyken joining us today. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He's a speaker. He's helped companies all over the world develop the highest standards of service. He's also a testimonial to the social in social media, and I want to share a very short, fast backstory. On Twitter, I often share great quotes, and found one of Shep's. I didn't know Shep at all. I just found a one-liner that I liked and posted it. This is about 3 years ago. I shared it, and unlike most people I quote, who are usually, Mark Twain and Abraham Lincoln, and they've passed away, Shep being very much alive, he responded. Well, that led me to calling him, and one of his trademarks is being accessible. In fact, he's accessible, his whole staff is accessible, and he really walks the talk when it comes to great service. So he joined me and Shamira as a guest on Mind Your Own Business in January of, I guess it was 2018, and then I later joined him on his podcast a couple of years ago. And then, while I was in St. Louis, I guess about a year and a half ago, Sheila and I caught up to Shep and his wife for breakfast. So it's so much fun when you think about what happens today in social media, and when you can actually meet somebody you've talked to, spoken to, worked with, maybe on a small project or even a big project, and then actually be able to have that time together. So we're going to talk about ways you can be proactive instead of reactive to today's challenges. And Shep, it is a kick to have you here today. This is going to be the cue for your lips to move. Welcome to Beyond Technique.
Well, thank you, and it's great to be back, and appreciate that backstory. I love the social media aspect. That's why they call it social. It means that it's not a monologue. It's sometimes a dialogue or a trialogue or a group discussion, and maybe even a massive worldwide discussion. But yeah, and we've made good friends over the years with many people like yourself. So, and I hope that when we get in the same city again, hopefully that'll be sooner than later. For a number of reasons, not just because we're working, but because we can. We'll get together again.
Well, we had talked, I remember at breakfast that day of next time your travels took you to someplace down here around Florida, we were going to catch up, and the pandemic just kind of messed that up a little bit. So
yeah, it messed a lot of plans up.
Yeah,
but hey,
slightly delayed.
Life. Yeah, the curveball came at me, and it dropped right as I was swinging.
Good way to put it.
But it's only one strike. It's only one strike.
Right.
There you go.
There's a great quote that I heard. I've heard a long time ago, but I think it applies today more than ever before, and that is the stars don't shine unless it's dark outside.
I love that.
If there's darkness in the world, there's probably still some place there's a shiny spot. And when I say the world, it could be our personal worlds. You've got to find the stars. You got to look for that shine. And there's opportunity there for all types of business. And I know for the businesses that listen in on your show, all those photographers, there's opportunity. We just have to find it. We have to be creative. We have to pivot, and we have to be realistically optimistic.
Shep, that's why you're the perfect person for us to talk to right now, because I love your positivity. I personally get tired of the doom and gloom, oh, this is the pandemic type of negative thoughts. And the fact that you are going to talk about opportunities right now through all of the struggle that we're going through is awesome. It's wonderful. I can't wait to get into our discussion. But first, Skip gave us a very nice intro of you. But could you dive a little bit deeper for those listeners who may be tuning in for the first time and haven't heard you on our other show? Tell us a bit about your background, how you got started, and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Sure. Well, I'm known as a customer service and experience expert. I work with companies on building loyal relationships with their customers. If you were on the street and you said, hey, Shep, what do you do for a living? I would ask you a question in response, and that like a lawyer does. no, but I would ask you a question, and that is, have you ever walked out of a business and thought to yourself, wow, those people were amazing, or that experience was amazing, and everybody says yes? I go, well, that's what I help my clients do, create those amazing experiences. And some of the clients are huge Fortune 50 companies, and others are very small entrepreneurial types of businesses. But the principles apply across the board. In some places, it's easier than others. And that's what I do for a living. I write books. I do speeches. We have trainers that go out and deliver my training. I have online training that people can buy for virtual training. But how I got there? Gosh, I've been a fan of customer service since I was a little kid, when my parents taught me to write thank you notes to the customers that hired me to do magic shows for their kids when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And that's part of customer service. And my dad said, show up early, stay late, give them more than they thought they were going to get. I thought that's great advice. That's part of the experience. He said, follow up a week after the magic show. Ask them, hey, what'd you think of the show? Get feedback, and then use the feedback to make the show better. Well, that's getting feedback and process improvement. So all of these were lessons I was learning as a kid. And by the way, either of my parents knew that this was called customer service or customer experience. But I quickly learned as I was getting, out of college and looking for what I wanted to do, and started realizing this is what I love and I'm passionate about. I started to learn that what they taught me were the tenets and the basics of a great service experience and a great overall customer experience. So that's where it all started. I got out of college. I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I saw a couple of motivational speakers. I thought I could do that. I have the entertainment background. By the way, after birthday parties, I graduated into nightclubs and corporate events. As I got out of college, I realized I really don't want to do that full-time for a living. And I saw those speakers with the entertainment background. I started writing a speech related to service, did a lot of research, and here I am today talking to you.
How cool.
And we're not going to let you get very far from the magic acts, because right now I think photographers believe that it's going to take a magician to rebuild their business. And I'm in the same place you are in Social Media. There are some really interesting opportunities out there, and they all fall under that umbrella of customer service and building relationships. What are some of the things that you recommend to clients today in terms of, my business is gone, now what do I do?
And that's a shame. If somebody says my business is gone, and by the way, this discussion could go one of two ways, and maybe it'll go both ways. I can talk to you about how important customer service is today more than ever, because it's more about building a relationship that's built on an emotional connection. And by the way, I'm just going to use one facet of photography, and that is the weddings business. And people are going to say, well, look what happened. Nobody's having a wedding. Everybody's postponing. And what that means is good news is that next year or whenever things are back to normal, you're going to be turning away a lot of business, I hope. Okay. But what do we do in this year that we have right now? And we can talk about how I don't think we are out of business. Even if all we do is weddings, I think there's still opportunity, actually, not to just do the wedding, but to get twice the business from one customer, one client, if you will, one happy couple, because many couples are getting married and having their receptions and big parties later. And that is two opportunities, not one. And maybe you combine them and maybe there's a discount, whatever. But anyway, I digress. When it comes to service and experience, what we want to do is we want to just go above whatever you think is normal. You need to exploit that, because our customers in a time of need, in a time of fear, manifest their personalities to become magnified. And sometimes if they're optimistic, they're even more optimistic and happier than ever. If they're typically more concerned and introverted, and even it's sometimes not so much pessimistic, but always questioning, well, that's going to come out even more. And that doesn't matter if it's a pandemic. It's any type of crisis. It could be their own personal crisis they may be having. They got, let off from work and now they're in an economic crunch of their own. It has nothing to do with the rest of the world sometimes. That's our opportunity to say, hey, we're not just here as photographers. We're not just here as business people doing business with you. We're here as your partner. We're here to support you. We're an emotional connection. My business, which primarily a lot of it was live presentations on stage, and then there's the training that our trainers go out, that came to a complete halt. Nobody wants to get together in a large group at a conference center and, with hundreds of people, if not thousands of people. Well, what did I do? I immediately pivoted. The first thing I did is I called all my clients and I said, I'm here for you. What do you need? By the way, do you need me to come in and do 20 minutes virtual training, Zoom call, Skype call, Microsoft Teams call, whatever you want to do it? I'll be happy to do it. No charge, by the way. I'm here for you. Because those first few months, nobody was doing anything. There wasn't a chance of making any money. But so I was going to take that as an opportunity to build a relationship even more with my existing clients, just to let them know I'm there and to let them know that I care. So that's where it all started for me just a few months ago.
Well, it's interesting. I made the comment about, my business is dried up and, now what do I do? Business is definitely out there. And I want to share this as much for you as our listeners, but there's a wedding photographer who is just outstanding, JP Ilario. His dad and I have been friends for years. I watched JP grow up in the business. And about a month and a half ago, the Albany 6 o'clock news did a story on JP because the wedding business has been deadly. And he went ahead and started doing FaceTime portraits. So you've got a piece of JP, you've got a news piece that ran where they're interviewing him. JP is at his computer, and he's got a woman on the other end who needs a headshot. And he's extended that now into engagement shoots and being able to maintain social distancing and create something totally different. And the images are beautiful. I think the news clip said he was getting $75 for a headshot and $125, I believe, for a couple. And if you multiply that times 300 that he's done or had done at that point, that represents a nice piece of revenue to make up for a time when weddings disappeared. And in the same respect that he did that, there's another photographer up in Northern California that's taking his portrait images of past clients, throwing them into Photoshop, pulling the color, turning them into line art, and sending them back to clients with young kids as coloring book pages to help mom and dad keep their sanity.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. I mean, to have a coloring book, I mean, you're 4 years old, you're 5 years old, hell, you're an adult. And
you've got a coloring your parents. You've got
a coloring book of all your family portraits. So
how much fun is that? So that's what I'm talking about. We can look at many different businesses, but one area of business that was completely decimated after the shutdown in March was the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. So my friend has a very small restaurant. Primarily the business is done during lunch. And by the way, he's successful, but not like super uber wealthy successful. He's very, very comfortable and happy successful. And it stopped 100% because he wasn't allowed to serve. Now, eventually it was served curbside, but he saw something as a bigger opportunity. He said, there is business around me that's open. What are they? Grocery stores. They're allowed to stay open. Well, why not I just take all my food ingredients and sell them separately, and I'll call myself a market. And he went to the local city hall and talked to them about making sure he was properly licensed and permitted to do that. And guess what? Within a matter of just a couple of weeks or so after he realized he might be run out of business, he reopened, and he's selling almost as much as he was when he was serving them lunch. So it's just creative opportunities, and you've got to be willing to pivot.
That's so cool. I love this theme of being proactive instead of reactive with today's climate, with the pandemic. And for photographers, can you talk about some ways that they can be proactive in building, let's say, customer loyalty, keeping in touch with clients, even if their photo sessions, their bookings have dried up a bit? Like you mentioned wedding photographers earlier, and all photographers are being affected right now. How can they be proactive in building customer loyalty?
As I mentioned before, I think I mentioned it, staying in touch. I think it's important to just pick up the phone and call somebody, not an email. Actually, you know what? I'll even go a step further than that. Video something to your customer. And by the way, it would, Skip, have you ever received one of my bomb videos?
Oh, I have not.
Okay. So bombbomb.com. Okay. And doesn't that sound, you don't want to use this URL while you're sitting on an airplane, but the company is called BombBomb. Okay. BOMB. And if you are inclined to do so, if you want to do a bombbomb.com/Shep sent me, basically they'll give me a free month if you sign up. But here's what it is. It's a video program. You can use your desktop camera on your computer, or you can use your cell phone, mobile phone, whatever you want to call it. And you record a short video, and it's so easy. And then you put the email in, and then you send it out. And what's really cool is that when somebody opens up the email, they see like a GIF, not a JPEG flat picture, but an actual little bit of a video. There's a little tiny bit of movement, but it's so small, it's really not going to be an issue for opening the email. And then when they click on it, it actually takes them to the BombBomb site where the video is. So it doesn't bog down anybody's email. It doesn't take a long time to open, but it's a great way of saying, to your, hello, Mr. or Miss or client or friend or whatever. Hey, it's Shep here. I've been thinking about all my clients lately, and I just remembered the work we did. Your wedding was so special. I remember when the two of you got married, or whatever the event was, and you talk about it, and you personalize it, and say, I'm just thinking about you. I'm hoping you're well, and hey, would love to sometime talk to you. We don't ever have to shoot pictures together again, but I want you to know that I was an important part of your life. At least I think I was then, and I hope to be again in the future. I don't know, something like that. All you're doing is just staying in touch. 30, 45-second video. it is amazing the response that you will get.
I love it. So I went to bombbomb.com right now and I'm looking at it.
Did you put
And-
Shep sent me?
Oh, no, I didn't. I'll have to add that. / Shep sent me.
I ordered.
I did,
Shep
and
sent me.
I did. It told me it needed my mortgage.
Right.
I needed to sign over my firstborn.
Yep.
No.
Oh, I didn't
This
get
is
the
a great.
message.
This is great.
This is so cool.
You know, when you talk about keeping in touch, I'm a huge fan of what Facebook has brought to the game. Now, I use Facebook strictly for business and marketing and staying in touch with other vendors, photographers, for those people that are all part of my world. You'll never see me put a post up that said, you know, oh boy, I just had yogurt, yum yum. That's just not my style. But I've suggested it repeatedly as a great way for photographers to keep track of client birthdays, anniversaries, and it gives you the foundation to make the call. So for those knuckleheads out there that say, well, what am I going to call a client about? I've got nothing to talk about. Well, you sure do. You want to just show that you care. But here's one step further is, you know, when you see a client come up and it's their birthday because you're following them on Facebook, what a great opportunity to pick up a call and pick up the phone, make the call, and just say, hey, you know, I'm thinking about you, and it's a challenge right now. This is where I think there's an opportunity for so many business owners, photographers especially, to stand out right now.
Yeah, and if you're into commercial photography and you're taking pictures of product and doing that type of photography, companies haven't stopped advertising. As a matter of fact, some companies recognize more important than ever to do their marketing and promotion the right way. And they've increased it because they realize their competition isn't. They're going the opposite direction. And so there's those opportunities. So, I mean, whether you're whatever type of business whatever type of photography business you have, I think there are opportunities.
So one thing that you mentioned, Shep, in the pre-interview chat, which we have with all of our guests, and it's so funny because we'll chat before the podcast starts, and people will start dropping these golden nuggets of information, and I'm like, oh, we need to start because it's already getting good. And one thing that you mentioned, Shep, was that small businesses, in a way, may have possible advantages over large businesses right now. And I would love for you to dive into the opportunities that small businesses have right now and how it can be an advantage to be small as opposed to the larger businesses.
The biggest opportunity is nimbleness, flexibility, if you will, the ability to pivot quicker, make a decision and act on that decision so much faster. You don't have a bureaucracy to work through. You don't have to go to your boss. You don't have to get it approved by 3 different people. You know, you have to run it up the flagpole. No. I think many of us are entrepreneurial. And even if we have a small team of several people that might work with us, maybe they're full-time people, maybe they're freelancers, the opportunity to make a decision and move forward with it is so much quicker. The other thing I believe, and I kind of mentioned this in some of our conversation we've already had, is that we're, especially for the family, wedding, event photographers, we're emotionally connected. We're part of something that was really important to our customers, our clients' lives. And therein is an opportunity and a reason that you want to stay connected. My guess is even the busiest photographer that's been doing weddings every week for the last, I don't know how many years, it's still only 50 clients a year or so. It's not like you have thousands.
Right.
So you really do have an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to call 10 people a day for the next week. By the way, those calls total will take you maybe, if you actually connect with people, maybe a couple hours a day. Don't you think that's worth doing? Take your last 5 years worth of clients and over the next 5 weeks, just stay in touch with them a little bit. You're going to leave a lot of messages, and occasionally you'll get somebody, and people might actually call you back or send that video. But the key, if you're going to do the video or any other type of message other than talking to somebody, is to make it personal. You've got to show that it's not cookie cutter in any way whatsoever.
I love it. And you never know what that may lead to. On a previous podcast on this theme of wedding photographers, I can't remember who it was. Maybe Skip, you'll remember. They were keeping in touch with their wedding clients who had to push back the wedding, and they started doing change the date photo sessions as opposed to save the date.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And it was just, the small business, they're able to pivot and make the decision to do this and to offer this. And so they got an additional small photo session while keeping the wedding date, but just pushed back into the next year.
And that's what I'm talking about. And some people are still doing the weddings, but they still have the receptions in addition to the weddings, because they know they're going to have their the spouse, and they're going to have the immediate family, and nobody else is invited to this wedding,
Exactly.
And so let's have fun with it. The save the date photo session, or the change the date photo session.
There was one that I think, Skip, was it on your blog, where they were standing 6 feet apart? Like they had fun with it.
I was just going to mention that. You had the bride and groom with one arm extended, touching fingers, with a 6-foot measure with a line across just above it showing 6 feet. And it talked about we're maintaining social distancing, but we're still getting married, and save the date. And it was so clever, and it was so well done. Because somebody had fun with it. People are not going to stop falling in love. They're not going to stop getting married. It's just changing the mode of celebration.
And how about this? How about having that picture with the social distance, and then say, and here's the photoshopped version of that. And underneath, they're together closer than ever. But it says underneath, this image has been photoshopped. Social distancing and all safety and health etiquette was used during this photo shoot.
That's right.
Oh, there's so many ways to have fun with it.
Well, I want to just throw one idea out there, because I know I'm worried we're going to run out of time. And I think this is a really important one. And that is, you need to plan for the next pandemic that we hopefully will never have.
Oh, wow.
Nobody would have ever thought that this was going to happen. I mean, let's jump to completely different industries. I have a client that has 62 support or call centers around the world, 60,000 employees, and far from a small business, I would say. And, we were talking, he said, if we get a hurricane on the East Coast of the United States, we can shift the calls in the United States down to the southern part or out to the west. But what happens when the entire world shuts down? And by the way, within 1 week, talk about a pivot, he was able to move 60,000 employees to home, working from home with the right equipment. Unbelievable job. But here's the point. I said, is it ever going to happen again? He goes, God, I hope not. But if it does, now we're prepared. I said, no, you're not. All you're prepared for is the same thing you just had. I want you to think of what every possible doomsday scenario could be. And if it could be a small one or a big one. It's like, you don't want the fire to happen, but we still have a fire emergency exit for a reason. So I want you to have that in place. I want you to plan for the next shutdown, the next delay, the next economic slump, the next health issue. Doesn't matter. I'll put it in biblical terms. Noah built the ark before it rained.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. I want to switch, because we're just about out of time. And before Shamera hits you with one of our favorite last questions, I want to switch gears just for a second. One of the things that's your trademark is the way your team, and it really is a team, handles every call. I mean, I called last week to see if you might be available. I talked to Claire. She said, well, he's on the phone right now, but tell me what you need. You've done a really incredible job where everybody that answers a call from anybody coming into your office has been given the training and the authority to make a decision that's in the best interest of the business and your clients. Just talk for a second about the effort that's gone into that, because so many of photographers out there, they may be a one-person show right now, but they've got somebody there that they work with. It could be a spouse, it could be an employee, it could be part-time, Or if they're a little bigger studio, they might have 2 or 3 people. And one of the challenges has always been not delegating and thinking that, well, that's really one that the boss has to talk to.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable. The quality of people you have is
thank you.
second
Thank you
to
so
none.
much. Well, I'm lucky. I have good people. We're in the customer service business. That's what we do. So we have to practice what we preach. But there's a couple of thoughts that I have. Number one, if you're going to hire somebody from the outside, hire somebody that has somewhat of an outgoing personality, because when people call, and let's just say it's a wedding photographer, they're excited about something. They don't want to talk to somebody that isn't. Okay, so the process of doing that, and by the way, you can go online. There's free behavioral style assessments that you can get a basic style if this person is outgoing, introverted. By the way, there's no wrong style. You just have to hire the right personality. That's number one. Number two, train them. Train them to do a great job, and then let them go do their great job that you train them to do. Here's a big problem that we as entrepreneurs, all of us have, and that is most of us started out by ourselves. At least I did, for these small types of businesses. And even today, many, many, many years later, I still think nobody can do it as good as I can. Big mistake. They can absolutely do it as well as I can, and they may even do it better. They might do it different, but the end result is the exact same, and we need to recognize that. So don't get in the way of your people doing a great job. One issue I want to share, though, one technique, tactic, strategy, if you will, is be like Jimmy John, freaky fast when it comes to returning phone calls and giving people back answers. Because if you get a new client calling you and you've not heard of them, guess what they're doing? They're calling others too. And I'm not saying that the person who calls back first wins, but the first person that calls back first makes a good impression.
Absolutely.
Great advice. Thank you for hitting on that, because it does. Your crew is, like I said, they're just remarkable.
Well, thank you. By the way, if you don't get a response from any of us, like within 24 hours, you might want to check on our health status. And I said 24, like one business. If you call us on Saturday and we don't get back to you on Monday, that's acceptable. But if you talk to, email or call us Monday morning and we're not back to you by that afternoon, something's probably wrong. Or maybe your email went to the junk folder or the spam filter, but it normally happens. Isn't that's the case. It does happen. Yeah.
So cool. Wow. So I guess this went by so fast, on our favorite final question. And I feel like this has been the theme of the entire interview, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because you have so much helpful advice, Shep. What advice do you have for photographers right now who are just starting out during this interesting and unprecedented time?
Wow. Well, first of all, the bravery it takes to start a business in the middle of a pandemic, congratulations.
Yes.
But actually, this may be exactly the right time to do so, because you don't have past experience that could potentially hold you back. And this is what I mean by that. Even the most, some successful people, because of the experience they have, it's like they have blinders to what's outside and around them. They don't always see it. There's something I refer to as a strategic byproduct. I learned this from my strategic coach, Dan Sullivan, and that is you need to have an open-minded outlook on life and about opportunities, and recognize when they're there. If I started out strictly as a professional speaker, eventually I wrote a book. Eventually, I started doing videos. All of these were because I recognized opportunity to build on my business. There are still people today that all they do is speak, and they don't see the value, or they don't want to entertain the opportunities that are around them that are ancillary to their business. So that's what I would say is be open-minded, look at every opportunity, every creative idea you have, put it on the whiteboard, look at it, let it fester inside of you until you say, yeah, I can do something with that, even if it's partially, the idea. But that's what I want you to do, is be open-minded, because that's the only way you're going to move forward in any industry, but especially ours, which has a history of this is the way we've always done it.
Great advice.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And we want to make sure and ask, where can folks check you out online and get in touch?
Just my name, Hyken.com, Hyken. That's the website. I have a TV show. If you go on Amazon, just type in my name, Shep Hyken. You'll get all my books. You'll see the TV show Be Amazing or Go Home. It's on Amazon Prime, Roku, Apple TV. The first season is now on YouTube. It's shep.tv. So anyway, have fun with that and get ideas. I have hundreds of videos that are out there, no charge. I love to spread the information. I'm trying to create the amazement revolution.
Great stuff. We will be honored to help you spread the word.
Well, thank you.
This is really good stuff.
And Skip, where can folks find you online?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. For those of you that listen to us regularly, that's the question that we always ask each other. I'm Skip Cohen on Twitter. I'm Skip Cohen on Facebook. And everything I write is at skipcohenuniversity.com. You'll also find a lot of stuff there from Shamara, who is part of the SCU. She and I are the SCU staff. I was going to make it sound like we had a big staff. And also, we want to hear from you on, give us feedback. Are there guests? Are there topics that you'd like us to cover? And my email is skip@mei500.com. And Shamara, as always, where do they go to find you?
Folks can get in touch with me. My email is shamira@photofocus.com. That's my first name, CHAMIRA@photofocus.com. We love getting questions, ideas, even suggestions for future guests. The feedback that we get absolutely influences the future of how we do the show and the amazing guests that we have on. And speaking of amazing, Shep, you are amazing. You are awesome.
Well,
Great stuff.
Thank you so
and
much.
you guys are
so
too.
much for being able to join us today.
Well, thank you, Shamira and Skip. It is a pleasure and honor, and I can't wait to come back and do it again one day.
Sounds good to
Awesome.
us.
Yeah, hey, we may take you up on that.
By the way, I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it.
Right? Oh, so cool. So cool. Thank you. Thank you. And we also want to thank our listeners for joining us. Please tell your friends about this podcast, especially if they have the desire to improve their photography business. Yes, even in 2020, you can improve your photography business. We look forward to having you with us next time on Beyond Technique, brought to you by Platypod, Photofocus, and Skip Cohen University.